Breaking news, America. The economic relief package you've been waiting for has finally cleared its biggest hurdle. And now the nation is buzzing with excitement and cautious optimism. That's right, Bernie Sanders' long-fought stimulus bill just passed through the Senate, and President Trump has signaled he'll sign it immediately, setting off a chain reaction of hope and debate across the country. But here's what mainstream media isn't telling you. These aren't just ordinary stimulus checks. They're being called refund checks, a deliberate rebranding that suggests this is money owed back to taxpayers, and they could be hitting your bank account as early as this month. What does this mean for your family who qualifies, and how much could you receive? Stay tuned, because in this extended breakdown, I'm diving into every aspect of this historic bipartisan achievement. And I'll also be expanding on the background implications and future forecasts surrounding this unprecedented relief package. Before I dive into all the details about these refund checks, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss critical financial updates like this one. Also, smash that like button if you're excited about potentially receiving a refund check that many believe is long overdue. Now let's get into what this bill actually means for everyday Americans like you and me. The political landscape in Washington has been characterized by gridlock for years, but something truly remarkable happened yesterday that few saw coming. After months of intense negotiations and high-stakes political maneuvering, Senator Bernie Sanders' Economic Relief for American Families Act passed through the Senate with an astonishing 68-32 vote. An unexpected result that saw unprecedented bipartisan support and demonstrated just how dire economic conditions have become for countless Americans. This situation forced lawmakers from both sides of the aisle to finally take swift action. What makes this bill unique is that it represents an unusual alliance between progressive Democrats led by Sanders and the Trump administration. A pairing that has historically been at odds, but now finds common ground on the need for direct economic relief. President Trump, who has long positioned himself as a champion for working-class Americans since his election victory, quickly endorsed the bill on social media, calling it a tremendous victory for hardworking citizens who deserve their money back from Washington. So, what exactly does this bill include at its core? The legislation authorizes a new round of direct payments to American households, officially termed Economic Recovery Refund payments. Unlike previous stimulus efforts during the pandemic, these payments are being framed differently. The administration is referring to them as refunds rather than stimulus, suggesting this is money that belongs to taxpayers and is simply being returned rather than being issued as a one-off government handout. Political analysts argue that this terminology shift is strategic, as it supports both Sanders' long-standing position that working Americans deserve a larger share of the nation's prosperity and Trump's campaign promise to return money to taxpayers, thereby stimulating the economy through consumer spending rather than through traditional government programs. Now let's address the question that's likely on your mind. How much money could you receive? According to the bill's final language, eligible adults will receive $1,200 with an additional $500 for each dependent, meaning that a family of 4 could receive up to $3,400. These amounts may sound familiar, as they mirror the first round of COVID-19 stimulus payments from 2020, but there are key differences in eligibility criteria that I will explain shortly. You might be wondering why this measure is being introduced now, when the economy was expected to be recovering. The truth is that while some economic indicators have shown improvement, many Americans continue to struggle amid inflation that has far outpaced wage growth, skyrocketing housing costs, and a notable slowdown in consumer spending. This bill represents an acknowledgement from Washington that a significant number of households require immediate financial relief, even as the economy appears to be on a slow rebound. So, who qualifies for these refund checks? Income thresholds are similar to those used in previous stimulus programs. Individuals earning up to $75,000 annually will receive the full amount, with payments gradually phasing out for those earning up to $99,000. For married couples filing jointly, the threshold for full payment is $150,000, phasing out at $198,000. However, unlike previous stimulus programs, this bill includes a work requirement provision, Recipients must have reported earned income in the previous tax year, a compromise that was crucial in securing Republican support. Another key question is when you will actually receive your money. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen announced that the IRS is already preparing to distribute the first wave of payments, with direct deposits potentially beginning as soon as March 15th and paper checks following in the subsequent weeks. If you've received previous government payments via direct deposit, you will likely receive this payment the same way without needing to take any action. But this bill isn't solely about direct payments. It also includes several other provisions that could significantly impact American families. For instance, there is a temporary expansion of the child tax credit, increasing it from $2,000 to $3,000 per child, with an extra $600 for children under 6, a priority for Sanders and progressive Democrats who have long advocated for enhanced support for families. Additionally, the bill allocates $50 billion for infrastructure projects specifically targeting rural and underserved communities. This funding is aimed at modernizing broadband access, improving roads, and upgrading water systems, thereby creating jobs while addressing long-neglected infrastructure needs. Some critics have raised concerns about how this spending will impact the national debt, and according to the bill's provisions, several revenue-generating measures have been included, such as a temporary surcharge on corporate stock buybacks and adjustments to certain corporate tax deductions. However, the Congressional Budget Office estimates that these measures will only offset about 60% of the bill's cost, meaning that it will add approximately $175 billion to the deficit. This raises an important debate. Is this a sound economic policy, or is it merely political maneuvering ahead of the midterm elections? Economists remain divided on the issue. Proponents argue that putting money directly into consumers' hands will stimulate spending and boost economic growth during this critical time, while critics maintain that the economy may not need additional stimulus and that the funds would be better allocated toward long-term investments or reducing the national debt. What is particularly noteworthy about this legislation is the strange political alliances it has forged. Progressive Democrats and Trump Republicans have celebrated this victory side by side, even as fiscal conservatives from both parties voiced opposition. Senator Mitch McConnell, who ultimately voted against the bill, acknowledged that extraordinary times sometimes require extraordinary measures, suggesting that the political calculus in Washington has shifted dramatically. Looking forward, what does this mean for future economic policy? Some political analysts see this as a potential turning point, proposing that direct payments to citizens might become a more regular feature of American policy, while others view it as a one-time response to specific economic pressures. The truth likely lies somewhere in between, with the success or failure of this program influencing future legislative decisions. When the refund check arrives, financial advisors recommend that you prioritize your immediate needs, whether that means catching up on rent or mortgage payments, settling utility bills, or addressing other essential expenses. If your basic needs are already met, consider using the funds to pay down high-interest debt, build your emergency savings, or invest in your future. Many viewers have asked whether this payment will affect your taxes next year. The good news is that, similar to previous stimulus payments, these refund checks are not considered taxable income, so you won't need to report them on your tax return, nor will they reduce any refund you might otherwise receive. This tax exemption was a crucial provision that both parties insisted on including in the final legislation. It is also worth noting that this bill managed to pass despite significant procedural obstacles in the Senate, normally requiring 60 votes to overcome a filibuster. Leadership from both parties agreed to a limited debate and an up or down vote, reflecting the urgency many felt about providing immediate economic relief. This rare procedural cooperation underscores the substantial political pressure that prompted this action. Finally, if you have moved or changed bank accounts since your last tax filing, the IRS has established an online portal where you can update your information to ensure you receive your payment promptly. I will include a link in the description below for your convenience. Beyond the immediate impact of these payments, this legislation reveals much about the current state of American politics. It demonstrates that economic insecurity remains a powerful bipartisan concern, despite profound ideological differences on many other issues. Both progressive Democrats and Trump Republicans agree that working Americans need direct financial support. While this unusual alliance may not last forever, it is clear that both Sanders and Trump have positioned themselves as champions of the working class, albeit with vastly different visions for addressing economic inequality. This bill represents a rare moment of convergence between these approaches, even as fundamental differences remain and are likely to be emphasized as the midterm elections draw near. Moreover, the passage of this bill raises important questions about President Trump's broader economic agenda for a potential second term. Throughout his campaign, he promised a combination of tax cuts, deregulation, and protectionist trade policies. And while this direct payment program is framed as a temporary measure to address immediate economic challenges, its popularity could influence future policy decisions. As always, I am committed to bringing you the latest economic and political news that directly affect your wallet. If you found this extended and detailed information helpful, please hit that like button. Share this update with friends and family who might benefit from the news, and drop a comment below to let me know how you plan to use your refund check. And don't forget to subscribe for more timely financial updates as we continue to monitor and analyze this unfolding story in real time.